Let's get started with this first introductory module of the Verbal to Visual classroom. What I'm going to do in this video is give you an overview of the course itself, and then I'll outline the next 3 videos that you will find in this introductory module. But before we get into the overview of the course, I want to talk to you about the name of this thing. I want to share the 2 meanings of verbal to visual. The first meaning is probably what comes to mind for you. It refers to taking a verbal idea that is expressed only in words and then giving that idea some sort of visual form. So that process describes a translation from verbal to visual. The second meaning looks at verbal to visual as a spectrum, with ideas expressed only in words on the left and ideas expressed only in images on the right. And in the middle, we've got our visual notes, the combination of words and images together. I bring up this spectrum because you get to pick where you land on it. You get to decide how verbal and how visual to make your processing of ideas. So throughout this course, I'll be helping you develop the skills that it takes to do the translation piece, and I'll also be helping you determine where on that spectrum you'd like to land. Let's turn next to how we'll go about that skill building and that decision making. After this introductory module, we'll jump into part 1 of the course, where we will discuss the individual pieces that make up visual note-taking. There are only 4 of them: text, layout, imagery, and color. We'll take on one of those at a time, and I'll give you lots of opportunities to practice and build your skills in one area before we add on the next component. And then, after you've got a solid grasp of those 4 pieces, we'll move on to part 2, the point, where you will combine some or all of those pieces to learn, solve problems, and share ideas. I call part 2 the point to remind you that it's not about creating a pretty picture. It's about using this particular tool of visual note-taking to fulfill a need that you have. That's the point, to take this tool and do something useful with it. In the final module of the course, I will pull it all together and let you know where you can go next with what you've learned. That is the outline of this entire course. Here now is what you'll find in the rest of this introductory module. In the next video, I'll describe for you the goal-oriented framework that will guide much of your experience throughout this course. The key idea here is that you need to know your own point. You need to define for yourself what purpose you'd like visual note-taking to serve in your life, so that you can then do the work to achieve that goal. Having defined your own goal, we'll then look at the core ideas of the verbal to visual mindset. This is where I'll share my philosophy regarding the development of visual note-taking skills. And those core ideas will keep showing up in each of the modules that follow. To finish off this introductory module, we'll talk about the materials needed to get started. Really, all you need is something to write with and something to write on, but I will be sharing some tips about where to start. Now, at the end of most of the videos to come, I will ask you to do something in response to that video, to take on a particular activity, try something out yourself, gain a little bit of personal experience before moving on to the next piece. But that is not the case for this first video. You are all set to move on to the next one, so go check that out, and I will see you there.